Rain streaked the windows of a small apartment on the east side of Brookdale, a city where old brick warehouses rubbed shoulders with neon-lit diners. Inside, Daniel Reyes tightened the laces on his worn delivery boots. A former auto mechanic turned rideshare driver, Daniel was known in the neighborhood for his calm smile and quick jokes. "Another long night?" his younger sister, Maricel, asked as she poured coffee into a chipped mug. "Always," Daniel replied, flashing a tired grin. "But the bills won't pay themselves." Life wasn't easy. The company garage where he once worked had closed months earlier, leaving Daniel hustling late shifts to cover rent and his mother's medical expenses. Still, he stayed patient, careful, someone who followed the rules, even when the world around him didn't. Outside, the streets glistened under flickering Brookdale carried an undercurrent of tension, talk of rising crime. A police department praised in public but whispered about in corner stores. Among those whispers was Chief Marcus Hulla, a man with a reputation for quick arrests and an iron grip on city politics. People respected him, or feared him, sometimes both. Daniel slid behind the wheel of his silver sedan, the faint scent of motor oil a reminder of the life he'd left behind. His dashboard camera blinked softly, recording as always, a silent witness he barely noticed anymore. As he pulled into the night, Marisol's voice echoed in his mind. "Be careful out there." No one could guess that a routine shift, a simple drive through rain-slicked streets, would soon turn Daniel's quiet existence into a storm of accusation and betrayal. And somewhere in the shadows of Brookdale, Chief Harley was already setting a trap. What happens when the law meant to protect becomes the weapon to destroy? The night had settled thick over Brookdale, heavy with the smell of wet asphalt and exhaust. Daniel Reyes guided his silver sedan along the quiet industrial stretch of Fulton Avenue, the rhythmic swish of wipers keeping time with the low hum of the engine. It was close to midnight, the hour when the city seemed to breathe slow until flashing blue lights shattered the calm. A piercing siren wailed behind him. Daniel glanced at the rearview mirror and frowned. I wasn't speeding. He eased to the curb, heart thudding. 2 squad cars boxed him in. From the lead vehicle stepped Chief Marcus Hulla himself, presence rarely seen on routine stops. Tall, broad-shouldered, the chief's uniform gleamed beneath the streetlights. 3 officers fanned out behind him. Daniel rolled down his window. "Evening, officers. Is there a problem?" Hale's eyes were cold. "License and registration." Daniel complied, forcing a polite tone. "Of course, sir." "May I ask why I'm being pulled over?" Hale's lip curled. "Stolen vehicle matching your description." "Care to explain?" Daniel blinked. "This is my car, registered in my name." "You can step out of the vehicle," Halle barked. The command sliced through the night. Neighbors peeked through darkened windows as Daniel climbed out, hands raised instinctively. Rain slicked the pavement, reflecting the pulsing lights in streaks of blue and red. Officer Perez, a young cop Daniel occasionally saw at the diner, avoided his gaze. "Chief, maybe we should—" "Search the car," Halle interrupted. Voice like gravel. "We have probable cause." Daniel's breath caught as another officer rifled through the back seat, opening compartments, tossing aside his delivery bags. Minutes later, the officer emerged holding a small plastic pouch filled with white powder. Daniel's stomach dropped. "That's not mine. I don't even—" "Possession with intent to distribute," Halle declared, his tone almost triumphant. "You're under arrest." "What?" Daniel's voice cracked. "That's insane. You planted that. You know you did." Halle stepped closer, the scent of expensive cologne mixing with the rain. "Watch your mouth, Reyes. You think anyone's going to believe a night driver over the chief of police?" Handcuffs bit into Daniel's wrists. His protests dissolved into the patter of rain and the murmurs of onlookers. He caught sight of Perez again, the younger officer's jaw tight, but Perez said nothing. The Brookdale police station was a maze of fluorescent light and damp concrete. They booked Daniel like a hardened criminal. Fingerprints, mugshots, questions delivered with icy detachment. Hours. Blurred. By morning, he sat alone in a holding cell, clothes damp and heart-pounding. His sister Marisol arrived with wide, frantic eyes. "Danny." She gripped the bars, voice trembling. "What's happening?" they said. "Drugs?" Daniel stood, anger and fear twisting inside him. "It's a setup. Halle planted it." "I swear!" "Mari." She shook her head, tears brimming. Why would he? A heavy door creaked. Chief Halle strolled in, arms crossed, a faint smirk on his face. Well, Halle drawled. "Family reunion." Marisol straightened. "You can't keep him here." "There's no reason. There's evidence," Halle interrupted smoothly. "A nice little bag of cocaine. Right where anyone could find it, and a witness." Daniel's fists clenched. "A witness? Who?" "An anonymous tip," Halle said with a shrug. "Someone saw you making a deal tonight. Maybe your sister doesn't know you as well as she thinks." Marisol's face drained of color. "That's a lie." Halle leaned closer to Daniel, voice low. "People like you think you can skirt the law. I run this city. No one questions my reports." When Halle finally left, the cell felt colder. Daniel sank to the bench. "Raque churning. He wants to ruin me, Mari. Maybe because I spoke up about those towing scams last month. Or maybe he just needs a trophy arrest." Marisol squeezed the bars. "We'll fight this." "There has to be proof you didn't, my Dashcam," Daniel whispered, the thought striking like a flash of lightning. "It records every trip." But they impounded the car. Marisol's eyes sparked with desperate hope. "Then we get it back." Somehow, hours later, Daniel was released on bail with a court date set and a record already staining his name. The neighborhood gossip spread like wildfire. At the corner store, whispers followed him. "That's the guy, right? The driver, with the drugs. Never thought he'd be like that." Daniel kept his head down, but the weight of their stares cut deep. The rideshare app suspended his account. Bills piled higher. That evening, he met his old friend Leo, a fellow mechanic, at a dimly lit cafe. Leo's weathered hands tightened around his coffee cup. "I've heard stories about Halle," he said quietly. "Shakedowns, fake busts. But nobody talks. He's untouchable." Daniel exhaled, frustration sharpening his voice. "If I can get that dashcam footage, it'll show everything." "But the car's in the police impound lot. Guarded." Leo hesitated. "You're playing with fire." "Halle doesn't forgive. I can't just let him destroy me," Daniel said. Joss said, "I've done nothing wrong." Leo studied him, then nodded slowly. "All right, we'll find a way. But be careful. He's not just a cop, he owns half the council." Later that night, Daniel walked the rain-dark streets back to his apartment. Every passing patrol car made his heart pound. Hale's words echoed like a curse. "No one questions my reports." Daniel looked up at the city skyline, lights shimmering through mist. His hands trembled not with fear, but with a growing resolve. Somewhere in an impound lot, a small blinking dashcam waited, a silent witness to the truth. But how long could the truth survive against a man who ruled Brookdale from the shadows? The question hung heavy in the wet night air, and Daniel knew the battle was only beginning. The following days bled together like an endless gray dawn. Daniel woke each morning with a knot in his chest, the scent of coffee barely cutting through the weight of fear. His once friendly neighbors now offered only tight smiles or avoided his eyes entirely. Flyers for his rideshare service curled in the damp wind, ignored, yet he refused to crumble. "I'm getting that dashcam footage," he told Marisol one early morning as they huddled in their tiny kitchen. Rain drummed against the window, steady as his resolve. "It's the only proof I have." Marisol shook her head, her dark hair escaping its braid. "Denny, it's guarded. They won't just hand it over. And if Halle suspects, I can't let him win," Daniel interrupted, voice raw. "He planted drugs in my car. He's already taken my job. If I stay quiet, he'll take everything. That afternoon, Daniel went to the Brookdale Police Department, his heart hammering like a loose piston. The lobby smelled of stale coffee and bleach. Officer Perez sat behind the front desk, eyes flicking nervously when he saw Daniel approach. "Perez," Daniel said, lowering his voice. "I need to access my vehicle. I left personal property inside my dashcam." Perez hesitated, glancing over his shoulder. "I can't. The car's evidence now. Only the chief can release it." "Then let me speak to him." Perez shook his head quickly. "He's not here, and even if he was..." "Daniel, you don't understand what you're asking." Daniel leaned closer, whispering, "You saw what happened that night. You know I'm innocent." Perez swallowed hard. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt. Maybe. But he lowered his gaze. "I have a family. I can't get involved." The rejection stung like acid. Daniel left with his jaw clenched, the station's fluorescent lights burning behind his eyes. That evening, he met Leo in the back corner of the garage they once shared as mechanics. The air smelled of oil and rusted metal. "They won't release the car," Daniel said. Frustration boiling. "Perez is scared. Everyone is." Leo wiped his hands on a rag, brow furrowed. "Then we think like mechanics. If you can't go through the front door, find another route." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You mean break in?" "I mean," Leo replied carefully, "find a legal reason. Maybe a court order, a lawyer who isn't afraid of Halle." "I don't have money for lawyers," Daniel muttered. Leo sighed. "Then we make noise. Public noise." The next day, Daniel visited a small, independent newsroom wedged between a pawn shop and a thrift store. He asked for Tara Chun, a journalist known for chasing stories others avoided. The office smelled of ink and dust. Tara, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, listened as Daniel recounted every detail. The stop, the planted drugs, the silent dash. "This city worships Chief Halle," she said finally, tapping her pen. "If I run this without proof, I'll be out of a job and you'll be ruined." "I have proof," Daniel said. "The Dashcam." "I just need someone to help me get it before Halle destroys it." Tara considered him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I'll ask around. No promises." That night, Daniel lay awake, rain ticking on the roof like a restless metronome. Doubt gnawed at him. What if Tara backs out? What if Halle already wiped the footage? Marisol peeked into his room. "You're awake," she whispered. "I can't stop thinking," he admitted. "Every move I make, he's 2 steps ahead." She sat beside him, voice soft. "You're scared. But you're not alone." Her words warmed him, but the fear remained a heavy anchor in his chest. 2 days later, Tara called. "Your car's scheduled for transfer to a city impound tomorrow night. After that, who knows what happens. If we act, it has to be now." Daniel's pulse spiked. "How?" "I have a contact. Inside records. He can sneak us a temporary access pass." "But it's risky." "I don't care," Daniel said. "Let's do it." That evening, the plan unfolded like a heist. The city impound lot loomed behind a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire, sodium lights casting eerie halos on slick pavement. Tara's contactor, nervous clerk named Devon, handed them a temporary visitor badge. "You have 20 minutes, Devon muttered. "If Halle finds out, he won't." Tara cut in. Daniel slipped past rows of impounded cars, heart pounding. The air smelled of gasoline and cold metal. He spotted his silver sedan under a flickering light. Inside, the familiar scent of oil and pine air freshener hit him like a memory. Hands trembling, he reached for the dashcam. The little device blinked weakly. Still alive. "Got it," he whispered. But a sudden beam of light cut through the darkness. "Who's there?" a harsh voice demanded. A security guard approached, flashlight slicing the night. Daniel froze. Tara stepped forward quickly. "City records?" she said smoothly, flashing the badge. "Vehicle inspection." The guard frowned, then finally lowered the light. "Make it quick." Only when the guard disappeared did Daniel exhale. Back at Tara's office, they plugged the dashcam into a laptop. For a tense moment, the screen stayed black, then static, followed by crisp video of the rainy night. There was Holly, striding to Daniel's car. The timestamp matched the arrest. The footage clearly showed an officer slipping the plastic pouch into Daniel's back seat, while Holly distracted him. Daniel's throat tightened. "It's all there," he breathed. Tara's eyes gleamed. This could burn the whole department. Daniel felt a surge of hope, but it was laced with dread. If Holly realized the footage still existed, he would strike back harder. Outside, thunder rumbled like a warning. The evidence was finally in Daniel's hands, but exposing it meant challenging the most powerful man in Brooklyn, and Chief Holly would not go down without a fight. The next morning broke with a bruised purple sky, thunder threatening in the distance. Daniel barely tasted the bitter coffee in his cup as Tara set up her camera equipment in the cramped newsroom. "Once we stream this," she said, checking the live feed, "there's no turning back. Holly will see it within minutes." Daniel's hands trembled, but his voice was steady. "Let the world see who he really is." Before Tara could reply, the glass door banged open. Chief Raymond Holly strode in, rain dripping from his dark trench coat, eyes like polished steel. Two uniformed officers flanked him. "Morning, folks," Holly drawled, his tone dripping false charm. "I hear you've been spreading dangerous rumors." Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. "He knows." Tara stepped forward. "We're preparing a report. Care to comment on the dashcam footage of you planting evidence?" Hale's jaw tightened. "There is no such footage." Daniel held the small dashcam like a lifeline. "I have it right here," he said, his voice louder than he intended. The chief's smile was thin. "You really think anyone will believe a disgraced mechanic over a decorated police chief?" Rain lashed against the windows, the newsroom lights flickering, as if the storm outside had crept in. Tara angled the camera toward Halle, red record light glowing. "This is live," she announced. "Everything you say is being streamed to thousands of viewers." A flash of uncertainty crossed Hale's face, but he recovered quickly. "Streaming a baseless accusation is slander," he barked. "Shut it off. Now." "No," Daniel said firmly. His heart pounded, but his voice was unyielding. "Brookdale deserves the truth." The door burst open again. Officer Perez stumbled in, soaked to the skin. His chest heaved as he met Daniel's eyes. "I can't stay silent," Perez said, breathless. "I saw it. That night, Holly ordered me to keep my mouth shut. But it's true, he planted the evidence." The room seemed to freeze. Holly spun toward Perez, fury igniting in his face. "You're throwing away your career." Perez's voice trembled, but he stood tall. "I'd rather lose my badge than my soul." Holly lunged forward, snatching at the dashcam. Daniel jerked it back, their hands colliding in a violent struggle. The camera clattered to the floor, skidding beneath a desk. "You won't ruin me," Holly roared, his composure shattering. Daniel dove for the camera, knees slamming against the hardwood. Fingers closing around the device, he scrambled to his feet, breathing hard. "Everyone can see this." "Holly," Tara said, her own voice shaking. "You're finished." But Holly wasn't finished. In one swift motion, he pulled his service weapon, the barrel glinting under the flickering fluorescent lights. Gasps echoed through the newsroom. "End the stream," Holly commanded, his voice a low growl. "Right now." Daniel's mind raced. He saw Marisol's face in his memory, the quiet mornings, the promise he'd made to fight for the truth. "No," he said again, louder this time. Perez stepped between Holly and Daniel, hands raised. "Chief, put the gun down. There are witnesses everywhere online and in this room." For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Rain hammered the windows like a drum roll. Then a voice crackled from Hale's radio. "Dispatch to Chief Hale. Internal Affairs is en route. Repeat, Internal Affairs is en route." Hale's eyes widened. "What?" Tara's lips curled into a grim smile. I sent the footage to 3 different outlets before you even walked in. The color drained from Hale's face. The room, the city, the storm all seemed to tilt. His weapon wavered, lowered slightly. You set me up, he muttered, almost to himself. Daniel steadied his breath. No, you set yourself up. The newsroom door swung open yet again. 2 plainclothes internal affairs officers stepped in, their badges glinting. Chief Hale, one announced, voice sharp over the thunder. You're under arrest for evidence tampering, obstruction of justice, a misconduct under color of law. The silence that followed was deafening. Hale's shoulders sagged, the fight draining from him like water down a drain. The gun slipped from his grasp, clattering to the floor. Daniel exhaled a shuddering breath, the tension finally breaking. You don't know what it's like, Hale spat as the cuffs clicked around his wrists. This city, this job chews you up. Daniel met his eyes, a strange mix of pity and righteous anger coursing through him. We all make choices. These were yours. The officers guided Hale out into the storm. For a long moment, the newsroom was silent, except for the steady tap of rain. Then Tara turned to Daniel, her voice hushed but fierce. It's over. You did it. Daniel felt his knees weaken. Relief, disbelief, and a quiet triumph flooded him all at once. Perez laid a tentative hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry I didn't speak sooner, he said. Daniel shook his head. You spoke when it mattered. Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating the wet streets of Brook. Inside, the glow of the livestream counter ticked upward thousands. Then tens of thousands of viewers witnessing justice in real time. For the first time in weeks, Daniel allowed himself to breathe deeply. The storm still raged beyond the windows, but inside the newsroom, a different kind of storm had finally passed. The storm that had battered Brookdale all night finally gave way to a clear, golden dawn. Puddles glimmered on the cracked sidewalks, reflecting a sky washed clean. For the first time in weeks, Daniel Reyes drove through the quiet streets without the heavy weight of suspicion pressing against his chest. News of Chief Hale's arrest spread like wildfire. Midday. Headlines blared across every local outlet. Dashcam exposes corruption police chief charged. Strangers who once eyed Daniel with doubt now greeted him with nods of respect. At a corner cafe, an elderly man waved him over. You showed courage most of us only talk about, the man said, voice trembling. Thank you for standing up for the truth. Daniel offered a modest smile. I just wanted to clear my name, he replied, and to make sure no one else goes through what I did. Later that afternoon, Internal Affairs held a press conference. Officer Perez stood beside them, no longer silent, recounting the night Hale planted the fake evidence. Cameras flashed as officials promised reforms. Stricter oversight, body cameras for every officer, a hotline for reporting misconduct. Daniel listened from the crowd, his sister Marisol gripping his hand. You did more than clear your name, she whispered. You gave this city a reason to believe again. He thought of the endless nights of fear and doubt, the moments he almost gave in, and he realized something profound. The fight wasn't only for himself. It was for every quiet neighbor who'd been brushed aside, for every voice silenced by power. That evening, Tara invited Daniel back to the newsroom where it all began. The once chaotic room now hummed with a steady calm. She handed him a printed photo. The moment he held the dashcam high, broadcast 2000s. You're a symbol now, she said softly. Proof that ordinary people can stand up to corruption. Daniel shook his head. I'm no symbol, just someone who refused to stay quiet. Exactly, she replied with a small smile. That's what makes it powerful. Outside, the city lights twinkled against the freshly washed sky. Daniel breathed in the cool night air, feeling, for the first time in months, truly free. Narrator closing. Justice doesn't always arrive with sirens and flashing lights. Sometimes it begins with a quiet decision, a choice to press record, to speak up, to keep standing even when the odds are impossible. Daniel Reyes was an ordinary man who faced extraordinary wrongdoing. He could have surrendered to fear. Instead, he proved that integrity can outlast intimidation, and that even the most carefully hidden corruption cannot survive the light of truth. Brookdale will remember the scandal of a fallen police chief, but more importantly, it will remember the courage of a driver who refused to be framed. Because when one person dares to stand for what's right, it gives others the strength to rise as well. And so the story of a corrupt chief and an innocent driver becomes more than a headline. It becomes a reminder to us all. Justice may bend, but it does not break, and truth will always find its way to the surface.